Well, hey, everybody, it's me, Jermaine, and I'm back with another Simple Truth update. This is a news update. And ladies and gentlemen, there are so many mixed messages going on out there in the world today that it almost makes you wonder what the heck is going on. And the mixed message that I'm talking about today is the sense of people being prepared. Now, you have one side that will say that being prepared is a form of a threat against the government of the United States. There was a show that premiered, I think it was last year, called Doomsday Preppers. And from the different independent news sources that I utilize and many of the people that I know utilize, there was a report on InfoWars.com. And on that report, the report basically said that they are targeting people who are making preparations in the event of the elections coming up. There's been threats out there that if Obama is not elected, that the supporters of Obama would be rioting and there would be different things happening. Well, I'm going to show you a news report from InfoWars.com where a unidentified National Guardsman, and I think it was Army National Guard, was interviewed, and he shared, he remains anonymous. I want you to understand that. And he was vetted, and they know that he is who he says he is, but he was interviewed and he shared his insight of what the plans are by the government and the government heads for those who are preppers, those that are in the military that are preppers, and their feelings toward that. So I want you to take a look at this report, and then I'll come back and share more with you.
Good evening and welcome to our second installment of InfoWars Nightly News. Now, this is going to get pretty serious. I just want to go over a few articles to set this up. So we're going to move through these pretty quickly. Get your pens, write down these headlines because we're about to lay some heavy information on you. First one is from March 19th, 2012. Obama's latest executive order, martial law, confiscation of private property, and forced labor. On Friday, March 16th, Obama issued another unconstitutional executive order. The National Defense Resources Preparedness Executive Order allows the government to confiscate your property without due process under the direction of Janet Napolitano and DHS. And here is the executive order. It's called the National Defense Resources Preparedness. And it's basically takes an executive order that Bill Clinton instituted and ramps it up. So go look up that executive order. It says everything just in nice lawyer language, how they're going to take your property. Moving on. Leaked U.S. Army document outlines plans for re-education camps in America. We reported on this back in May. People said, no, it wasn't true. Then we reported, oh, the U.S. Army said it was true, but that they really didn't want that information to get out to the public. Go read that article and all the relating articles. It talks about having PSYOP officers, command centers. They're taking people domestically. These operations may be performed as domestic civil support operations. That's rounding people up, okay? And talks about all kinds of stuff in there. Go read the document, read it for yourself. Next article, DHS purchases 200 million more rounds of ammunition. Following the controversy over its purchase of around 1.2 billion bullets in the last 6 months alone, the Department of Homeland Security has put out a new solicitation for over 200 million more rounds of ammunition, some of which are designated to be used by snipers, okay? So this is just 200 million rounds. They already, before that, bought 1.2 billion. And so we're looking at over 1.6 billion in ammo purchases lately through the government. Now let's go back to 2009. H.R. 645, the National Emergency Centers Establishment Act. And let's just look at the top line there. To direct, scroll right there. To direct the Secretary of Homeland Security to establish national emergency centers on military installations. Now, remember New Orleans and Katrina? Okay, remember what the chief of police had to say?
Guns will be taken.
No one will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
So all guns will be taken. They went into the high and dry areas and took people's guns. They took little old ladies' guns. Anybody who had a gun trying to protect themselves and their property, it was taken. Here's the article. New Orleans mayor admits illegal gun confiscation. That was from the National Rifle Association out of 2008. Now, if you go to this video, which we played not too long ago, troops ordered to kill all Americans who do not turn in guns. This was a nightly news piece that we put out. Go check that out. It's 21 minutes long, and it goes over the whole history of what they're trying to do with the guns in America. And also, we have Mike Adams, who interviewed a whistleblower, said, yeah, he was in the National Guard and in the Army at the time. And he said, yeah, we were going in, kicking in doors, saying, you know, anybody there, do you have any guns? Taking your people's guns in the middle of the night. Now we go to this next one from 2006. So see, this isn't just Obama. This is Bush, and this is Clinton before him, and then Reagan, and old Bush Sr. The Military Commissions Act, questions and answers. This is from the Center of Constitutional Rights. This is from October 24th, 2006. Go read that article. Talks about how they're going to suspend habeas corpus and other nice things. Habeas corpus has its origins in the Magna Carta of 1215, is the great writ that protects people from arbitrary arrest, disappearance, and indefinite detention without charge. The cornerstone of Western justice, and is essential to the idea that laws, not individuals, be they presidents or kings, govern the land. That's right. So the law is bigger than any man. Now, what do we have? The NDAA. Now, here's an article that we just published on October 17th. Breaking. Prepper put on no-fly list, stranded in Hawaii. And this is a man named Wade Hicks, who was flying to see his wife, and somewhere along the line he was put on a no-fly list and he was stranded in Hawaii. Now you go check out this video. Prepper put on no-fly list speaks out. A man named Wade Hicks basically got stranded in Hawaii. There he goes through everything, how they had a preppers group that they had, and some guy who they didn't really trust. He came in and said some weird things. Well, they followed him, and he went to a Department of Homeland Security headquarters, and they said he parked in the handicap spot. Very interesting. And then he gets put on a no-fly list. Well, yesterday I got an email from a National Guardsman. We're about to bring him up here. And basically, he says that, well, here's what he wrote me in an email. Doomsday preppers will be treated as terrorists. Let's get a shot of this real quick. This is the email that came to me, and there it is. Doomsday preppers will be treated as terrorists. There's a lot of other stuff in this, but here, that's what really caught my eye, because we just had Wade Hicks on the show talking about this, how he was a prepper and he was put on a no-fly list. So our government is digging in, they're buying ammo, they're preparing for civil unrest, but you as an individual, if you do it, well, now we're being told you're going to be treated as a terrorist, and we've already had people on the show that have been treated as terrorists. They've been put on no-fly list. So this individual who sent us this email, he is who he says he is. We vetted him, but he wants to remain anonymous. So for now, we're going to call him Soldier X. And Soldier X, how you doing?
I'm doing all right today.
Excellent. So let's start off with this Doomsday Preppers. Where were you told this information, and how many times were you told that Doomsday Preppers will be treated as terrorists?
I've only been told once. When I was told, it was a briefing in the event that there is civil unrest after the election, because of all the talks of if Romney gets elected, there's going to be people going around trying to kill Romney, and they say that there's going to be people that are Democrats trying to kill Republicans because Romney got elected. So in the event of that civil unrest, they're asking the Army National Guard troops to come in and basically take over the civil unrest and calm it down, is basically what I understood.
Well, and that's happened before. We saw that in the LA riots. We saw it in New Orleans. So bringing in the National Guard is something that the government does from time to time. But now you're saying Doomsday Preppers, though, they're going to be specifically going after people who are prepared for this type of event?
If they have a list compiled, and I haven't seen the list, but they have a list compiled of all these Doomsday Preppers that have gone public, and they plan to go after them first because they think that they're going to be the worst part of the civil unrest, even though those people are going to be the people sitting at home defending their homes and their own property from those that just want to go crazy and lose their minds.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing, because these people aren't going to need to be taken care of. They're not going to be standing in the food lines. They're not going to be looting. Yet now it seems as if they're going to be treated as terrorists. But beyond that, they also said soldiers who are preppers will be treated as defects. Now, what does defect mean in your lexicon, in the National Guard lexicon?
Basically, a defect is somebody who has turned and started aiding the enemy. A traitor, basically, somebody who no longer wants to conform to the way that they want things to be. And if you don't conform, they'll get rid of you.
And you were told this in a briefing as well?
Yes.
Wow.
We were told not to be in any affiliation with them or any part of them.
Man. And there's your email's filled with all kinds of stuff. And you were talking about how they're going to have sanctions on fuel, and that you've already seen the preparedness of basically refueling stations, temporary refueling stations being set up. Tell us about that.
I know that the equipment is coming in mass numbers, and none of it's been set up yet. All of it's still coming in, and all the pieces are still coming in. But if they say we're not at war and that, you know, we don't need all this combat equipment anymore, then I'm wondering why do they keep building this stuff that we used in Iraq and Afghanistan. And they say they're cutting troops numbers and cutting back on defense and stuff, but yet they keep building war-fighting vehicles. And my question was, who's going to operate these pieces of equipment if you get rid of us?
Right. And, yeah, who is going to operate them? Are they going to bring in foreign troops? Is this going to be a UN takeover via the National Guard, working together with the National Guard? I've already got them on camera working with Polish troops, the National Guard, you know, and they do this all the time. In Chicago, Poland is, or Illinois National Guard, their sister country is Poland. And so I'm sure there are other sister countries out there. And, you know, I don't want you to name your sister country, but you agree with me, right? You've heard of that before, the sister countries that work with our National Guards?
I have heard of it, but I have not experienced it firsthand myself on that part of it. I know that a lot of us are keeping low-key and trying to stay out of the limelight. Our worry is that Obama's going to do what he said he's going to do, and he's going to outlaw all weapons altogether, and anybody's name who's on a weapon, they're going to come to your house and try to take them. And our take on that is that they're going to call us National Guard troops and tell us we got to go take guns away from hardworking Americans like, you know, you and me. And I'm sorry, but I don't believe in suicide.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be blood on both sides, and it's not going to be pretty. Now, your buddies, what are you guys saying? Are you guys planning on going along with this, or what is if you're ordered to take guns from Americans, you know, what is your response going to be?
We're going to basically go underground, basically. We're not going to answer the phone. We're not going to show up. We're just going to basically disappear.
So essentially standing down.
Basically, yes.
I got to commend you for that.
We're not going to fight for a cause that's not right. I understand fighting a cause in Iraq against terrorists that are trying to kill us every day, but I don't believe in fighting our own people. I don't understand the point.
Right. Now, what do you make of this? You also mentioned in this about you were doing some training in White Sands, Mexico, and that there were heavily armed special forces on the border. Were you in New Mexico? You said Mexico in your email.
I meant to say New Mexico. We were in White Sands, New Mexico. There's a training ground out there in White Sands called Camp McGregor. Mm-hmm. And we were training out there, and me and my buddies, we all saw the special forces out there training out behind buildings, and then they were loading up in trucks, and they were very heavily armed. I'm talking sniper rifles, machine guns, you name it, they had it. And they all headed towards the border, and they disappeared for probably, 4 or 5 days.
Wow. So bottom line, you've got them decimating the ranks. You were telling me that they were cutting people out who put 20 to 30 years in service, and they're just cutting them out. Have you seen them bringing in younger people, or have you seen the ranks being replenished? Tell us a little bit about that.
I haven't seen any ranks replenishing. What I see every day is people that have given 20 to 30 years of their lives in service to this country, who've given sweat, blood, and tears and put boot to ass for this country, being thrown out on the streets with nothing. I had a good buddy of mine who gave the military 35 years of his life. And the best they could do was a random phone call from a random sergeant major saying that, sorry, but your service is no longer needed. And there's no warning when it comes. It's just a phone call, and if you ask him any questions, he says, I don't have any information to answer any questions. I'm just calling to give the bad news. And before this year, they weren't doing the phone calls. It was a random letter that came in the mail, and you never know if it was going to come. And there are no transition programs in place to help soldiers go from soldier to civilian. And, you know, I actually addressed my congressman with this problem, and my congressman told me, welcome to the real world, because he said corporate companies are doing that all over the world. And I said, it's not the same. Being in a civilian company, going to another civilian company is one thing, but being a soldier who's done nothing but be a soldier since he left high school, and it's all he knows, and all of a sudden you're telling him he's out of a job, and in the Guard, we are federal technicians if we work full-time for the Guard. And if you get kicked out of the Guard, you lose your full-time job. So basically, you get a phone call that says, sorry, you're out of a job, and there's no warning, there's no prep, there's no nothing. It's just to throw you out on the street and hope you make it.
Now, do you think they're targeting so-called preppers in this movement, or do you think it's just kind of across the board?
It's kind of across the board. They're trying to get people for medical stuff. They're either getting people for medical, they're getting them saying that if they got 20 or 30 years that they need to get them out and get new faces in and fresh soldiers in. But I haven't seen a replenishment of the ranks myself. Basically what it comes down to is they're decimating our military, and I don't see how we're supposed to hold our own borders and end all these wars if you get rid of all of our troops. I mean, who's going to fight the wars if you fire all of us?
Well, you've got the UN, and you've got NATO. You've got troops that will follow any orders, including, you know, killing women and children and working with terrorists, Al-Qaeda. We've already shown that to happen. So bottom line, basically, you've been told in briefings that if you're a, quote, doomsday prepper, you're going to be treated as a terrorist, and those who are in the ranks of the National Guard will be seen as defects if they're preppers as well.
Yes.
Wow.
And right before the end of the day today, they said that there was going to be something on the news tonight. It's supposed to be on the Austin News. I don't know what channel. They just said it was going to be on the Austin News, and apparently it's a discussion about the way that the Texas Army National Guard has been spending money. Apparently, they see a lot of stuff that's going on as frivolous spending, and they see a lot of stuff going on that's like wasteful spending, and it's abuse of the government's money and of the taxpayers' money. And some of the news people are taking notice of all this money that's going out. But my problem with that is that they're going to question soldiers that are in the lower ranks, like me and my buddies, who have nothing to do with where the spending goes. We're just soldiers, and we do as we're told.
Yeah, why don't they question the banks and why they're getting $40 billion a month from the Fed, and what are they doing with that money? That seems like a big waste of money, but they won't be doing that. We know that.
Well, we in the last year have seen so much wasteful spending that we've noticed as soldiers, and we kind of question it, and we're like, you know, why is the Army wasting money doing this stuff? And we're told, don't ask questions, just do what you're told.
Yeah, just follow orders. Yeah.
And
that's what the Germans used as their excuse in Nuremberg. We were just following orders.
And now it's come down to basically a very minute, well, I won't say minute. There's a group of us that have gotten tired of all the stuff that's going on. There's a lot of times when we look back when we were in Iraq, and now we question everything that we did over there and wonder, and now we ask, what was it for? and there's no answers.
Well, it was to train you to be able to come back home and do the same thing here to the American people. And, you know, you may not have realized it then, but that was the grand chessboard scheme. Soldier X, we're going to talk more to you tomorrow. I'm pretty sure Alex is going to want to have you on the show, so we're going to definitely have more updates on this. And we thank you for calling and reaching out to us, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Well, there it is, folks. You know, I just laid out a bunch of articles and executive orders and stuff that's coming down the pike. So you better check yourself. You better make sure your house is in order, because this stuff is coming down the pike, and we're not just blowing smoke. We're not just crazy conspiracy theorists. We're going to be right back with Greg Palast. I got to take a second and check my head, and we'll be right back. It's InfoWars Nightly News, and I'm Rob Dew.
Okay, now you've had the opportunity to hear and even see some various different articles. You also saw in that report where a prepper was detained and put on the no-fly list because of the fact that he was known to be a prepper. Just gives you true understanding that they are watching. They are paying attention to who is doing what. But then something came across my plate. Now, my source is a family member, one that I've trusted, and they've been vetted over a number of years. Now, they work for a major corporation, and that corporation, I won't call the corporation out, but I will tell you this about the corporation. If you take the word discovery and take off the Y, that is the name of the company, and they have their own little card. I think you know what I'm talking about. But here's the thing. You have the government that is telling people that make their decision to prepare, be prepared, and they're preparing for one and only one reason, and that is self-preservation, and added to that one main reason is the preservation of their family and those that they are close to. They have no intention of civil unrest. They have no intention of doing anything but sitting back where they reside, being prepared, and being ready to protect and provide security for themselves and those that are with them. Now, that family member found this pamphlet, and I want to show it to you. I want to show it to you. You see this pamphlet? I want you to notice who the pamphlet is made by and the title of the pamphlet. The title of the pamphlet, ladies and gentlemen, Preparing Makes Sense. Get ready now. Well, wait a minute. We just saw right here that preparing is against what the government wants us to do. But the Department of Homeland Security is telling us to get ready now. Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? I want to share with you a few things that it says here. It says, everyone should have a plan. The likelihood of you and your family surviving a house fire depends as much on having a working smoke detector and an exit strategy as on a well-trained fire department. The same is true of surviving a terrorist attack or other emergency. We must have the tools and plans in place to make it our own, at least for a period of time, no matter where we are when disaster strikes. Just like having a working smoke detector, preparing for the unexpected makes sense. Get ready now. This is confusing, ladies and gentlemen. And if you are a person that believes in the Most High God, we all know who is the author of confusion. I'll get away from that for right now. It says potential threats. Terrorists are working to obtain biological, chemical, nuclear, and radiological weapons, and the threat of an attack is very real. Here at the Department of Homeland Security and throughout the government, at organizations across America, we are working hard to strengthen our nation's security and to reduce our vulnerability to emergencies of all kinds. Ladies and gentlemen, I just don't get it. I really and truly don't get it. How is it possible for anyone to be prepared and to take care of themselves when they say, number one, that you can't own a gun? Owning a firearm, they're trying to do away with the Second Amendment. Can't do that. Okay, so security is out of the picture. Well, if you decide that you don't want to eat these GMO-laced foods with these poisons and these monkey pus, rat poison, and all of these different things in it, you can't grow your own food, because we know that the certified organic is not always certified organic. The only way you actually know what is in your food is if you grow it yourself. How is it possible to prepare yourself if they are telling you that being prepared is against the government, but yet the government is telling you to prepare? Let me go on and read a couple of other things. It says emergency supplies. I'm going to read the bullet points. It says at least 3 days, they're talking about worth of supplies, and consider 2 kits. You should have water, food, clean air, basic supplies, warmth, and specialty items. Recommended supplies to include in a basic kit: water, 1 gallon of water per person per day for drinking and sanitation. Food, at least a 3-day supply of non-perishable food. Battery-powered radio and extra batteries. Flashlight, first aid kit, whistle, dust mask, moistened towelettes, wrench or pliers, can opener, plastic sheeting and duct tape, infant formula and diapers, garbage bags and plastic ties. Plan in advance is some of the things you ought to do. Use the tool in the back of this brochure to get started today. Yeah, they want to definitely advertise. Develop a family communication plan. Deciding to stay or to go. Staying put and shelter in place. Getting away. Working hard. Neighborhoods and apartment buildings. School and daycare. Employers. Preparing yourself to react. Biological threat. Chemical threat, nuclear blast, radiation threat, or dirty bomb. And talking about natural disasters. Get involved. Join Citizen Corps today. What role will you play? And then it goes down in here to talk about more. Here are some of the Citizen Corps community, the Citizen Corps communities. Volunteering for local law enforcement agencies through the Volunteers in Police Service, VIPS. Being part of the Community Emergency Response Team, joining a neighborhood watch, volunteering with the Medical Reserve Corps, providing fire safety and prevention education in the community, helping others get prepared. It starts with you. Prepare, train, and volunteer. Ladies and gentlemen, I have never seen such a contradiction in terms. Where at one moment they're saying that those who are doing this independently, who are doing it of themselves, they see what is going on. They basically see the writing on the wall, and they're making a conscious decision to do this. The one thing that I want you to see that they did not have in there is they did not have any form of security. No form. They told you all the different things: batteries, flashlights, food, water, but no type of security. Oh, we're supposed to depend on the government to protect us. We're supposed to feed ourselves and keep ourselves hydrated, but the government will protect us against the bad men. Ladies and gentlemen, it is utterly amazing how they speak out of both sides of their mouth, and they do not give you the opportunity to do what you, as a sovereign individual, knows that you should do if you are educated, if you are awake, and if you are aware. The simple truth of the whole matter is, ladies and gentlemen, is as myself and many others have been telling you for quite some time, being prepared both naturally and spiritually is vitally important. Will it ensure that you will make it? Absolutely not. But if you're prepared, you have the chance to make it. There's an old saying about the 7 P's. Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. The question is, are you going to prepare because you have been told? Or are you going to prepare because you see the writing on the wall, you pay attention to what's going on, and you know that it's important to prepare for yourself and your loved ones? This has been the simple truth. And as I always tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the simple things are oftentimes the most profound, but yet they are the most difficult to put into practice and to actually do. I want to thank you for joining me, and I'll see you and you again real soon.